Back on their ship, Captain Lee Woo-jin spread out the evidence on the main table. The military badge from Colonel Nam Dong-wook sat next to files containing the names and service records of all Subject Omega's victims. There has to be a connection, he muttered, scrolling through personnel data. Lieutenant Kim So-ra entered the briefing room carrying a steaming cup of coffee and a data pad. Captain, I found something interesting. Remember how you asked me to check the deployment records for all the victims? What did you find? 15 of the 47 victims served on Vaspar Prime within the last 2 years. The others were either researchers or people connected to the research program. Wu Jin looked up sharply. Vaspar Prime, the planet where Subject Omega supposedly escaped from. It gets more interesting, Sora continued. I did some digging into the research facility's records. The official reports say it was a standard xenobiology research station studying predatory behaviors. But the supply requisitions don't match. They were ordering military-grade restraint systems, combat stimulation drugs, and neural manipulation equipment. That's not standard research gear, Captain. Wu Jin stood and began pacing. What kind of research were they really doing? Before Sora could answer, their communication system beeped with an incoming message. The face of Dr. Choi Min-ho appeared on the screen. He looked nervous and kept glancing over his shoulder. Captain Lee, I heard you were investigating the Subject Omega situation. I need to speak with you privately. It's about what really happened on Vaspar Prime. Dr. Choi, I'm listening. Not over open channels. Can you meet me at the research station on Kepler 438c? I have information that will change everything you think you know about that creature. 2 hours later, Wu Jin and Lieutenant Kim sat across from Dr. Choi in his small office at the research station. The xenobiologist looked like he hadn't slept in days. Dr. Choi, what can you tell us about the Vaspar Prime facility? Wu Jin asked. Choi took a shaky breath. I worked there for 6 months before I transferred out. What I saw there still gives me nightmares. What kind of research were you conducting? The official project was called Predator Analysis Program. We were supposed to study how certain species developed their hunting abilities. But that wasn't what we were really doing. Kim leaned forward. What was the real purpose? We were trying to create super soldiers. The Council wanted to understand how to enhance human combat abilities by studying the most successful predators in the galaxy. Subject Omega's species was one of our primary research subjects. What was Subject Omega's species like? Wu Jin asked. Dr. Choi pulled up a holographic display showing a family group of the creatures. They called themselves the Keth. They were incredibly intelligent with complex social structures and emotional bonds. They lived in family units of 5 to 8 individuals and had their own language and culture. Wu Jin stared at the display. The creatures looked peaceful as they interacted with each other, caring for their young and sharing food. It was hard to reconcile this image with the deadly hunter that had killed so many soldiers. How many of them were at the facility? Kim asked. 12 adults and 3 juveniles. Subject Omega was designated as the alpha male of the group. What happened to the others? Dr. Choi's voice dropped to a whisper. The research program required us to test their combat responses under extreme stress. We separated family members to see how it affected their fighting abilities. We subjected them to pain and fear to trigger their predatory instincts. Wu Jin felt sick. You were torturing them. The project director, Colonel Nam Dong-wook, insisted it was necessary. He said we needed to understand their breaking points to replicate their abilities in human subjects. Nam Dong-wook, Kim said. That's the colonel whose badge Subject Omega left for us. The experiments became more extreme over time, Dr. Choi continued. We started using combat drugs and neural stimulation to force aggressive responses. Some of the Keth died from the stress. Others lost their minds. What happened to Subject Omega's family? Dr. Choi closed his eyes. They died during a particularly brutal experiment designed to test protective instincts. The researchers separated Subject Omega from its mate and offspring, then threatened them to see how it would respond. The stress killed them. That's murder, Wu Jin said quietly. Subject Omega went into a rage unlike anything we'd ever seen. It broke free from its restraints and killed 6 guards before escaping into the facility's ventilation system. That night, it systematically eliminated everyone involved in the death of its family. The supposed containment breach, Kim said. There was no accident. Subject Omega planned its escape and its revenge. It spent 3 days hunting down everyone responsible for its family's death. Then it took one of the research ships and left the planet. Wu Jin stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. It's not a mindless killer. It's seeking justice for genocide. Captain, there's more, Dr. Choi said. I have recordings from the facility. Audio logs that prove the Keth were sentient beings with their own rights. The council knew they were intelligent, but they classified them as useful animals to continue the research. Why are you telling us this now? Kim asked. Because I can't live with what we did, and because I believe Subject Omega deserves the truth to be known. It's not a monster. It's a survivor seeking justice for its murdered family. Wu Jin turned back to face the doctor. Dr. Choi, I need you to send me everything you have. Audio logs, research data, personnel records, everything. What are you planning, Captain? I'm going to do something the council won't like. I'm going to try to save Subject Omega instead of killing it. Over the next several hours, Wu Jin and Kim reviewed the mountain of evidence Dr. Choi provided. The audio recordings were particularly damning, clearly showing that the Keth were intelligent beings capable of complex thought and emotion. Captain, Kim said as they finished reading the final report, if we present this evidence to the council, it could change everything. Or they could bury it and court-martial us for disobeying orders, Wu Jin replied. But I don't care about that anymore. This creature, this Han as I've started thinking of it, has been through hell. It deserves better than execution. Han, it means great or vast in Korean. Something that encompasses more than what others see. This being is more than just a weapon or a killer. It's a person who has lost everything. Kim nodded slowly. So what do we do? We're going to do something unprecedented in human military history. We're going to train our target instead of eliminating it. But first we need to convince Han to trust us. That could be extremely dangerous, Captain. Wu Jin smiled grimly. The best things usually are, Lieutenant. The best things usually are. 3 days later, Captain Lee Wu Jin stood at the edge of Tertius Station, studying the abandoned mining colony through his binoculars. The station floated in the asteroid belt like a metal flower, its solar panels spread wide to catch the distant sun's light. But something was wrong with the picture. Lieutenant Kim, do you see those modifications to the outer hull? Wu Jin asked. Kim Sora adjusted her scope and whistled softly. Those weren't in the original blueprints. Someone or something has been busy. The station's exterior showed clear signs of intelligent modification. New conduits had been welded between sections. Additional sensor arrays had been mounted on the communications tower. Most interesting of all, several docking bays had been sealed with what looked like organic material. Sir, if that creature did this work, it's far more intelligent than the report suggested, said Sergeant Lee Dong-soo. The squad leader, Wu Jin nodded. Let's get closer. But remember, we're here to observe first. No one fires unless I give the order. Their small ship docked at one of the unsealed bays. As they moved through the airlock, Wu Jin noticed that the station's life support systems were still running. The air was breathable, and the temperature was comfortable for humans. The corridors of Tertius Station told a story of careful planning. Lighting had been adjusted to create shadows and hiding places. Ventilation grates had been widened, creating new paths through the station. Most remarkably, certain areas had been completely restructured, with what appeared to be a combination of metal and some kind of biological secretion. Captain, I'm picking up multiple life signs in Section C, reported Corporal Park Min-woo, checking his scanner. At least 6 humans all alive. The missing evacuation team, Sora said. They made their way carefully through the modified corridors. Wu Jin noticed that the creature had created an elaborate system of traps in defensive positions. But they were designed to capture, not kill. Each trap would disable an intruder without causing fatal harm. In Section C, they found the evacuation team alive and unharmed in what had once been the station's cafeteria. The 6 workers looked up in surprise as the Marines entered. Thank God you're here, said Dr. Yoon Hae-jin, the team leader. We've been trapped here for 2 days. Trapped? Wu Jin asked. Are you injured? No, we're fine. The creature brought us food and water. It even fixed the heating system when we got cold. But it won't let us leave this area. Wu Jin exchanged glances with Lieutenant Kim. This behavior didn't match the profile of a mindless killer. Has it communicated with you in any way? Dr. Yoon shook her head. It watches us sometimes from the ventilation system, but it's never tried to hurt us. Yesterday, when engineer Ko Jae-min fell and hurt his ankle, the creature brought medical supplies. Medical supplies? From the station's emergency kit. It seemed to understand that Ko was injured and needed help. Wu Jin felt his understanding of Subject Omega shifting. This creature wasn't just intelligent. It was showing compassion for beings that posed no threat to it. "We need to make contact," he said to Lieutenant Kim. "Sir, that could be extremely dangerous. This thing has killed dozens of trained soldiers, all of whom were hunting it," Wu Jin pointed out. "These civilians are safe because they're not a threat." He turned to Dr. Yoon. "I need you and your team to stay here while we explore the rest of the station. We're going to try to communicate with the creature." "Captain, are you sure about this?" Sergeant Lee asked. "No, but sometimes the best decisions are the ones you're not sure about." Wu Jin left half his squad to guard the civilians and took the rest deeper into the station. The creature's modifications became more elaborate as they moved toward the central hub. It had created what could only be described as a nest in the main control room, but it was unlike any animal's nest Wu Jin had ever seen. The space had been carefully organized with different areas for different purposes. One section contained salvaged equipment that the creature had clearly been studying and learning to use. Another area held what looked like trophies, but they weren't the usual predator's collection of bones and teeth. Instead, there were military badges, rank insignia, and identification cards. "Captain, look at this," Lieutenant Kim called from across the room. She was standing beside a wall that the creature had covered with scratches and marks. At first, it looked like random scratching, but as Wu Jin studied it more carefully, he realized it was a form of writing or record-keeping. "It's keeping track of something," he said. "These marks correspond to the dates of attacks on Council forces." "It's hunting specific targets," Sora agreed. "But why these particular people?" Before Wu Jin could answer, the lights in the room dimmed. The temperature dropped several degrees. They were no longer alone. Subject Omega emerged from the shadows like liquid death. Up close, it was even more impressive than the surveillance photos suggested. Its chitinous armor gleamed in the dim light, and its multiple eyes tracked each member of the squad with calculating intelligence. The Marines raised their weapons, but Wu Jin held up his hand. "Hold fire," he said quietly. The creature stopped about 5 meters away, its head tilted slightly as it studied them. Wu Jin could see intelligence in those alien eyes. This was no mindless beast. Slowly, carefully, Wu Jin set down his rifle and removed his helmet. The creature's posture shifted slightly, becoming less aggressive. "My name is Li Wu Jin," he said clearly. "I'm not here to hurt you." The creature's head movement suggested it was processing his words. Then, to everyone's amazement, it reached into a pouch on its side and pulled out a council military badge. It placed the badge on the floor between them and stepped back. Wu Jin recognized the badge immediately. It belonged to Colonel Nam Dong-wook, one of Subject Omega's recent victims. "You're trying to tell me something," Wu Jin said. "This isn't random killing, is it? You're hunting specific people." The creature made a low sound that might have been agreement. Then it turned and disappeared back into the shadows, leaving the badge behind. Lieutenant Kim looked at Wu Jin in amazement. "Sir, I think it was trying to communicate." "More than that," Wu Jin said, picking up the badge. "I think it was trying to explain itself. We need to find out what connects all these victims. There's something the Council isn't telling us about what really happened on Vaspar Prime." Captain Li Wu Jin sat in his command chair on the bridge of the small military station orbiting Kepler 442b. The red planet spun slowly below him, its surface covered in mining equipment that had been abandoned for 3 years. He sipped his morning coffee and watched the sunrise paint the planet's surface in golden light. The quiet morning was broken by the sharp beep of an emergency transmission. Wu Jin set down his cup and pressed the accept button. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the face of Ambassador Park Hye-jin from the Galactic Defense Council headquarters. "Captain Lee," Park said, her voice tight with stress. "We have a code red situation. I need you to prepare for immediate deployment." Wu Jin straightened in his chair. In his 15 years of service, he had only heard code red called twice before. Both times had involved threats to entire star systems. "What's the nature of the threat, Ambassador?" he asked. Park's image flickered as she transferred files to his system. 6 months ago, a creature escaped from a research facility on Vaspar Prime. We designated it Subject Omega. Since then, it has killed 47 military personnel across 3 different star systems. The files appeared on Wu Jin's secondary screen. He scrolled through combat reports, autopsy findings, and surveillance footage. Each report painted a picture of something terrifyingly efficient. The creature had started by killing individual soldiers on patrol. Then it had taken out small squads. Last week, it had eliminated an entire platoon of elite Centauri Rangers. The creature appears to be learning from each encounter, Park continued. It adapts its tactics based on the weapons and strategies used against it. Our xenobiology team believes it has reached what they call apex hunter status. Wu Jin had heard that term before. Apex hunters were creatures so dangerous that the Council classified them as extinction-level threats. The protocol for dealing with them was simple: total elimination by any means necessary. He studied the blurry surveillance images of Subject Omega. The creature stood nearly 3 meters tall, with thick chitinous armor covering most of its body. Multiple sensory organs dotted its head, giving it an almost spider-like appearance. Its limbs were long and powerful, ending in claws that could apparently cut through military-grade armor. "Where is it now?" Wu Jin asked. "Last sighting was near the Tertius mining colony 2 days ago. The colony was evacuated, but we lost contact with the evacuation team. We're assuming they're all dead." Wu Jin nodded grimly. The Tertius colony was only 3 jumps away from populated systems. If the creature reached civilian areas, the casualties could number in the millions. "I'm sending you because you're our best tracker, Captain," Park said. "You've never failed to eliminate a target. The Council needs this thing dead before it reaches New Beijing or the Europa settlements." "Understood, Ambassador. What do we know about its origins?" Park hesitated for a moment. The creature came from a Council research facility on Vaspar Prime. The facility was studying predatory species from quarantined worlds. Subject Omega was one of several specimens being analyzed for potential military applications. Military applications? Combat enhancement research. The facility was trying to understand how certain species develop their hunting abilities. Subject Omega was the most promising specimen until it escaped during a containment breach. Wu Jin frowned as he read through the files. Something didn't add up. The creature's attack patterns showed clear intelligence and planning. It wasn't just killing randomly. It seemed to be targeting specific types of military personnel: officers, special forces, and research staff. "Ambassador, these attack patterns suggest the creature is selecting its targets deliberately. Has anyone considered that it might be seeking revenge?" Park's expression hardened. "Captain Lee, this is not a thinking being seeking justice. This is a dangerous animal that needs to be put down. Your job is to track it and eliminate it, not to psychoanalyze it." "Of course, Ambassador. I'll need a full tactical team and specialized equipment." "Already approved. You'll have Lieutenant Kim Sora as your second in command, plus a squad of 8 Marines. As for equipment, request whatever you need." Wu Jin thought for a moment. Most hunters would ask for heavy weapons, explosives, and maximum firepower, but something about this situation made him want to take a different approach. "I'll need standard weapons and ammunition, but I also want restraint equipment, neural interface devices, biological analysis tools, and a portable containment unit." Park looked surprised. "Restraint equipment? Captain, your orders are to eliminate the target, not capture it." "I understand my orders, Ambassador, but I've learned that the best way to hunt something is to understand it first. If this creature is as intelligent as the reports suggest, I need to know how it thinks." "Very well. You'll have everything you requested within 6 hours. Captain Lee, I cannot stress this enough. Subject Omega is extremely dangerous. It has killed some of our best soldiers. Do not underestimate it." "I won't, Ambassador, but I also won't underestimate the power of understanding your enemy." The transmission ended, leaving Wu Jin alone with the files. He spent the next hour studying every detail of Subject Omega's activities. The more he read, the more convinced he became that this was not a mindless killing machine. Lieutenant Kim Sora arrived on the station 4 hours later, along with the Marine squad and equipment. She was a veteran soldier with 10 years of combat experience, known for her tactical expertise and calm under pressure. "Captain," she said as she entered his office, "I've reviewed the mission files. This creature has some serious capabilities. What's your assessment, Lieutenant?" "It's smart, adaptable, and incredibly dangerous. But there's something strange about its behavior. Look at this attack on the research station on Kepler 186c. She pulled up a tactical display showing the attack pattern. The creature had multiple opportunities to kill civilian researchers, but it only targeted the military guards and the head researcher. It left the other scientists alive." Wu Jin nodded. "I noticed that too. And here at the mining facility on Ross 128b, It killed the security chief but spared the miners. It's like it has a list of specific targets, Sora said. But what could an escaped research specimen want with revenge? Maybe it's not just a specimen, Wu Jin said quietly. Maybe it's a survivor. They spent the rest of the day preparing for departure. Wu Jin made sure the restraint equipment was properly calibrated and the biological analysis tools were functioning correctly. He had a feeling he would need them. As their ship jumped to hyperspace heading toward the Tertius system, Wu Jin stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Subject Omega was waiting. The Council wanted it dead. But Wu Jin was beginning to think there might be another way. He had built his reputation on being Earth's greatest hunter. But maybe it was time to try being something else. Earth's greatest teacher. Captain Li Wu Jin stood in the empty cargo hold of an abandoned asteroid mining station, watching Han explore the space. The creature moved carefully, testing surfaces and examining equipment with obvious intelligence. 3 weeks had passed since their first communication attempt, and building trust had been a slow process. Han, can you understand me? Wu Jin asked in a calm voice. The creature turned toward him and made a series of clicking sounds. Over the past weeks, Wu Jin had learned that different click patterns meant different things. This particular sequence seemed to mean yes or agreement. Lieutenant Kim So-ra entered the cargo hold carrying a datapad and looking concerned. Captain, I just received a priority message from Ambassador Park Hae-jin. The Council is demanding a progress report. They want to know when Subject Omega will be eliminated. Tell them we're making progress on the mission, Wu Jin said without taking his eyes off Han. Sir, with respect, they're not going to accept that answer much longer. It's been a month since you were given the termination order. Wu Jin finally turned to face his second-in-command. Lieutenant Kim, do you believe in what we're doing here? Kim looked at Han, who had stopped exploring to listen to their conversation. The creature's posture was alert but not threatening. Yes, sir. After seeing Dr. Choi's evidence and observing Han's behavior, I believe we're doing the right thing. Then help me prove that there's another way to solve this problem. Over the following weeks, Wu Jin began an unprecedented training program. He started by teaching Han basic human military signals and commands. The creature learned with remarkable speed, mastering complex tactical concepts in days rather than weeks. Han, watch carefully, Wu Jin said, demonstrating a flanking maneuver using small model figures. When facing multiple opponents, you create a diversion here. Then move around to attack from this angle. Han studied the demonstration intently, then rearranged the figures to show an even more effective approach. The creature had instinctively improved on human military tactics by incorporating its natural climbing and stealth abilities. Dr. Choi Min-ho joined their group during the second month of training, providing scientific support and serving as a translator for Han's increasingly complex attempts at communication. Through patient work, they developed a basic system of clicks, gestures, and symbols that allowed for real conversation. Han is trying to tell us something about the other victims, Dr. Choi said after a long communication session. It seems that not all of the people it killed were directly involved in the experiments. What do you mean? Wu Jin asked. Some of them were scheduled to be transferred to Vaspar Prime to continue the research program. Han was hunting them before they could hurt other members of its species. Lieutenant Kim looked up from her tactical planning station. It was trying to prevent future atrocities. Exactly. Han's actions weren't just about revenge. It was trying to protect others like itself. This revelation changed how Wu Jin approached the training. Instead of just teaching Han to fight more effectively, he began focusing on concepts of justice, mercy, and proportional response. Han, look at this scenario, Wu Jin said, setting up a training simulation. You have an enemy who has surrendered. They're no longer a threat. What do you do? In the early sessions, Han's response would have been to eliminate the threat completely. But after weeks of training and discussion, the creature began to demonstrate restraint. It learned to disable rather than kill, to capture rather than destroy. The breakthrough came during a practical exercise. Wu Jin had arranged for a squad of volunteers to play the role of hostile forces. They were given stunner weapons and told to hunt Han through the asteroid station's corridors. Han could have easily killed all of them. Instead, it used its new training to systematically disable each volunteer without causing serious harm. The creature had learned not just new techniques, but new values. Incredible, breathed Sergeant Lee Dongsu after Han had successfully neutralized his entire squad. It had me dead to rights 3 times, but it chose non-lethal takedowns every time. Lieutenant Kim was equally impressed. Han has mastered tactical concepts that take human soldiers years to learn. But more importantly, it's internalized the ethical framework we've been teaching. Their success couldn't remain hidden forever. Colonel Nam Dong-wook arrived at the asteroid station with a full combat squad, determined to complete the mission that Wu Jin had supposedly failed. Captain Lee, you are hereby relieved of command and charged with disobeying direct orders, Colonel Nam announced as his soldiers surrounded the training area. Colonel, I can explain our progress here, Wu Jin began. There is nothing to explain. You were ordered to eliminate a dangerous creature and instead you've been playing games. Subject Omega dies today. Han emerged from the shadows of the cargo hold, moving to place itself between the soldiers and Wu Jin. The creature's posture was protective rather than aggressive, but the soldiers raised their weapons anyway. Wait, Wu Jin said quickly. Han, these soldiers are not our enemies. They're confused, but they're not evil like the ones who hurt your family. Han's head tilted as it processed this information. Then, instead of attacking, it did something that shocked everyone present. It sat down and placed its claws on the floor in a gesture of submission. What is it doing? Colonel Nam demanded. It's showing that it's learned the difference between justice and revenge, Wu Jin said. Han could kill all of us right now, but it chooses not to because it understands that would be wrong. Dr. Choi stepped forward. Colonel Nam, I believe you remember me from Vaspar Prime. I have evidence that proves this creature is not a mindless killer. It's a survivor of war crimes committed by the Council. That's classified information, Dr. Choi. Stand down. The classification doesn't make it less true. This being lost its entire family to illegal experiments. It has every right to seek justice. Colonel Nam's face reddened with anger. This thing killed 47 good soldiers. This being killed 47 people who were part of a conspiracy to commit genocide, Wu Jin corrected. And now it's learned to choose mercy over vengeance. The standoff continued for several tense minutes. Finally, Han rose to its feet and walked slowly toward Colonel Nam. The soldiers tensed, fingers on triggers, but instead of attacking, Han reached into its equipment pouch and pulled out something unexpected. The identification badge of one of the soldiers who had died on Vaspar Prime. It placed the badge at the colonel's feet and stepped back. It's returning the dead soldier's badge, Lieutenant Kim whispered. It's showing respect for the fallen. Colonel Nam stared at the badge in shock. This belonged to Sergeant Park Ji-won. He was a good man. Han made a series of soft clicking sounds and Dr. Choi translated. Han says it's sorry for the pain it caused, but it couldn't let the killing of its people continue. It asked for the chance to prove it can be more than a weapon. The colonel looked from Han to Wu Jin to the evidence that Dr. Choi was holding. Captain Lee, what exactly are you proposing? I'm proposing that we give Han the chance to use its abilities to protect innocent life instead of taking it. I'm proposing that we prove humans can transform enemies into allies through understanding and training. Colonel Nam was quiet for a long moment. Then he lowered his weapon. You have 1 week to demonstrate that this creature can be trusted in a real situation. If it fails or if it harms any innocent person, it will be terminated immediately. Understood, Colonel. Han won't let you down. As the colonel and his soldiers left the station, Lieutenant Kim approached Wu Jin. Captain, what if you're wrong? What if Han can't overcome its nature? Wu Jin looked at Han, who was carefully examining the returned badge with what seemed like genuine remorse. Then we'll deal with that when it happens. But I believe in giving everyone a second chance to be better than they were. The message from the Galactic Defense Council arrived exactly 1 week after Colonel Nam Dong-wook's visit. Captain Lee Wu Jin read it twice, then handed the datapad to Lieutenant Kim So-ra. A formal trial by combat? She said, looking up in disbelief. They can't be serious. They're completely serious, Wu Jin replied grimly. The Council has decided that the only way to settle this matter is through ancient protocol. Han and I must face their chosen champion. If we win, Han gets legal recognition as a sentient being. If we lose, you both die, Lieutenant Kim finished. Captain, this is insane. Who's their champion? Wu Jin was quiet for a moment. Tae Kyung-ho. The name hit Kim like a physical blow. Everyone in the human military knew that name. Tae Kyung-ho was a legend, the man who had trained half the elite soldiers in the human fleet. He was also the only person who had ever defeated Wu Jin in combat. Your old instructor, Kim said softly. More than that. He was like a father to me. He taught me everything I know about combat, strategy, and leadership. Han entered the briefing room, moving with the fluid grace that had become familiar over the past months. The creature had learned to read human facial expressions and body language, and it immediately sensed the tension in the room. Dr. Choi Minho followed Han into the room, carrying his translation equipment. After weeks of work, they had developed an efficient system for complex communication. "What has happened?" Dr. Choi asked, translating Han's concerned clicking sounds. "The Council has invoked trial by combat," Wu Jin explained. "Han and I must fight their champion to determine Han's fate." Han's multiple eyes focused intently on Wu Jin, as Dr. Choi translated. The creature's response was immediate and concerned. "Han says it doesn't want you to risk your life for it," Dr. Choi translated. "It suggests that it face the champion alone." "That's not how this works, Han. We're a team now. We face this together." The trial was scheduled to take place on Neutral Station Alpha, a facility built specifically for interspecies diplomatic meetings. Representatives from dozens of different species would witness the combat, making the outcome binding across the entire Galactic Council. As their ship approached the station, Wu Jin spent time reviewing everything he knew about his former mentor's fighting style. Kyung-ho was fast, intelligent, and absolutely ruthless in combat. He would not hold back just because Wu Jin had once been his student. "Captain," Lieutenant Kim said as they prepared to dock, "I've been thinking about this trial. The Council chose Master Tay for a reason. They know he's the one person you might hesitate to fight seriously." "I know," Wu Jin said, "but this isn't about personal feelings anymore. This is about proving that intelligence and compassion matter more than pure combat ability." The combat arena on Neutral Station Alpha was a large circular space with observation decks rising on all sides. As Wu Jin and Han entered the arena, they could see hundreds of beings from across the galaxy watching them. Ambassador Park Hyejin stood at the center of the arena with the official combat rules. "This trial will determine the legal status of the being known as Subject Omega. If the challengers win, the being will be granted full sentient rights under Galactic Council law. If they lose, both will be executed immediately." Tae Kyung-ho entered from the opposite side of the arena. He looked exactly as Wu Jin remembered, tall, lean, and moving with the perfect balance of a master warrior. His gray hair was shorter than it had been years ago, but his eyes held the same sharp intelligence. "Student," Kyung-ho said as they approached each other, "I wish we were meeting under better circumstances." "As do I, Master. But some principles are worth fighting for, even if it costs your life, especially then." Kyung-ho turned to look at Han, who stood quietly beside Wu Jin. "So this is the creature that has caused so much trouble. It doesn't look like much. Looks can be deceiving, Master. Han has learned much about honor and restraint. More than many humans I know. We shall see." The combat began immediately. Kyung-ho moved with the speed and precision that had made him famous, attacking Wu Jin while simultaneously avoiding Han's attempts to flank him. It quickly became clear that the master had studied recordings of Han's abilities and had developed counters for most of the creature's natural advantages. The fight was brutal and intense. Kyung-ho's experience showed as he systematically separated Han and Wu Jin, preventing them from working as a team. Within minutes, both challengers were bleeding and struggling to maintain their coordination. "You fight well, student," Kyung-ho said as he landed a solid blow on Wu Jin's shoulder. "But you've allowed sentiment to cloud your judgment. This creature is a weapon, nothing more." "You're wrong, Master," Wu Jin gasped, rolling away from another attack. "Han is so much more than that." To prove his point, Wu Jin deliberately left himself open to Han's attack, trusting his partner to demonstrate the training they had worked on for months. Han could have easily struck a killing blow against Kyung-ho, but instead it used a restraint technique they had practiced, attempting to disable rather than kill. Kyung-ho countered the attack, but his expression showed surprise at Han's restraint. "Interesting. It had multiple opportunities to kill me, but it chose not to." The fight continued for another 20 minutes, with both sides showing impressive skill and determination. But Kyung-ho's experience and training eventually began to tell. He managed to injure Han's left arm and corner Wu Jin against the arena wall. "Yield, student," Kyung-ho said, holding his blade at Wu Jin's throat. "There is no shame in admitting defeat." "I can't do that, Master. Too much depends on this." "Then I'm sorry, But before Kyung-ho could deliver the finishing blow, Han did something that shocked everyone in the arena. Despite its injured arm, it threw itself between the two humans, shielding Woo Jin with its own body. Kyung-ho's blade struck Han in the chest, drawing a spray of dark blue blood. The creature staggered but remained standing, its multiple eyes focused on Kyung-ho with what could only be described as forgiveness. "It protected you," Kyung-ho said in amazement. "Even knowing it would be hurt, it protected you." Han made a series of soft clicking sounds, and Dr. Choi's voice came over the arena speakers with the translation. "Han says that Kyung-ho is not evil, just mistaken. It asks that he be shown mercy." Kyung-ho lowered his weapon, staring at Han in wonder. "This creature is asking me to spare it mercy? After I wounded it?" Woo Jin struggled to his feet, supporting Han as the creature swayed from blood loss. "This is what I've been trying to tell you, Master. Han has learned to choose compassion over revenge. It has become something greater than either human or Keth." Kyung-ho looked around the arena at the hundreds of beings watching from the observation decks. Many of them were leaning forward, clearly moved by what they had witnessed. "I yield," Kyung-ho said, suddenly dropping his weapon. "I cannot continue to fight a being that shows such nobility." The arena erupted in shocked murmurs. Ambassador Park Hae-jin looked confused. "Master Tae, you cannot yield. The trial must continue until there is a clear victor." "There is a clear victor," Kyung-ho said firmly. "These two have shown me something I didn't think was possible. They've proven that the capacity for growth and change transcends species boundaries." He turned to face the observation decks. "I have spent 40 years training warriors, teaching them to kill efficiently and without mercy. But today I have seen true strength, the strength to show compassion to one's enemies." Kyung-ho approached Han and Woo Jin, going to one knee before the wounded creature. "I ask your forgiveness for my blindness. I failed to see the person behind the weapon." Han reached out with its uninjured arm and gently touched Kyung-ho's shoulder, making soft clicking sounds that needed no translation. It was offering not just forgiveness, but acceptance. The council judges conferred for several minutes before Ambassador Park announced their decision. Based on the events witnessed in this arena, the council grants full sentient rights to the being formerly known as Subject Omega. Furthermore, we establish a new position, Director of Interspecies Integration, with Captain Lee Woo Jin as the first appointee. As medical teams rushed to treat Han's wounds, Woo Jin felt a deep sense of satisfaction. They had proven that understanding and training could triumph over fear and prejudice. But more importantly, they had saved a life worth saving. 6 months after the trial, Captain Lee Woo Jin stood on the observation deck of the newly established integration training facility, orbiting the peaceful world of Harmony Station. Below them, beings from 15 different species worked together in training exercises that would have been impossible just a year ago. Director Lee, Lieutenant Kim So-ra, said as she approached with a data pad, "We just received our third success report this week. The Zephyrian refugees who were classified as hostile combatants have completed their integration program and are being relocated to civilian colonies." Woo Jin smiled as he watched the training grounds. "Any word from Han?" "Han is in Sector 7 with Dr. Choi, working with the new arrivals from the Kepler system, the ones who were found living in the abandoned battleship." Through the large windows, Woo Jin could see Han moving among a group of young beings from various species. Some had been child soldiers, others were refugees from war zones, and a few were former criminals seeking a second chance. All of them looked up to Han with obvious respect and admiration. It had taken months of careful work, but Han had become something unprecedented in galactic history. A bridge between species, a living example that former enemies could become trusted allies. The creature's own journey from weapon to protector served as inspiration for everyone who came to the facility. "Director, you should see this," said Dr. Choi Min-ho as he entered the observation deck. He looked excited, carrying a holographic projector under his arm. "What do you have for us, Doctor?" Dr. Choi activated the projector, showing a three-dimensional map of the galaxy with dozens of blinking lights. "These are requests for integration services from across Council space. Word about our success has spread faster than we expected." Lieutenant Kim examined the display. "There are over 200 requests here. Everything from refugee integration to conflict resolution to species mediation. The most interesting one came from the Outer Rim territories," Dr. Choi continued. "A group of former pirates has requested our help in transitioning to legitimate trade operations. They specifically asked for Han to lead their rehabilitation program. Wu Jin raised an eyebrow. Pirates asking for help? That's new. It gets better. They heard about Han's story and said they wanted to learn from someone who had successfully changed their life's purpose. They believe if a creature bred for killing can learn mercy, they can learn to build instead of destroy. Through the window, they watched as Han demonstrated a complex tactical maneuver to a mixed group of trainees. The exercise required cooperation between species with very different physical abilities and cultural backgrounds. A few months ago, these same beings would have been fighting each other. Now they moved as a coordinated unit, sir, Lieutenant Kim said. I have to ask, did you ever imagine it would grow this large this quickly? Wu Jin shook his head. Honestly, I just wanted to save one life. I never thought it would become a movement. The galaxy needed this, Dr. Choi said. For too long, our solution to every problem has been separation or elimination. You and Han proved there's another way. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. Ambassador Park Hye-jin appeared on the communication screen, but her expression was very different from their earlier encounters. She looked pleased and energetic. Director Lee, I have excellent news. The Council has approved funding for 5 additional integration facilities. We want to establish them in each major sector of Council space. That's wonderful news, Ambassador. Do we have the personnel to staff them? That's the remarkable part. We have over 3,000 applications from military personnel requesting transfer to integration services. Apparently, many soldiers would prefer to build bridges rather than burn them. Wu Jin exchanged glances with Lieutenant Kim. 3,000? That's an entire division, including some very familiar names, Park continued. Master Tae Kyung-ho has requested to serve as combat training coordinator for the new facilities. Colonel Nam Dong-wook wants to establish a research division focused on understanding species-specific rehabilitation techniques. Colonel Nam? Lieutenant Kim said in surprise. The same person who wanted to eliminate Han. The very same. He submitted a formal apology to Han and requested permission to help with the program. Apparently, witnessing the trial by combat changed his perspective completely. After the communication ended, Wu Jin walked down to the training grounds to find Han. The creature was working with a group of young Draconian refugees who had been found hiding in asteroid caves, terrified of both their own government and council forces. Han, Wu Jin called out, "Can I speak with you for a moment?" Han approached, moving with the confident grace it had developed over months of training and leadership. Through their improved communication system, conversations had become much more natural. The council wants to expand our program to 5 new facilities, Wu Jin explained. But I wanted to ask your opinion before accepting. Han's response came through the translation device in its measured, thoughtful tone. This is good news. Many beings across the galaxy need the chance for redemption that you gave me, but I have concerns about expanding too quickly. What kind of concerns? Each species has different needs, different traumas. What worked for me might not work for others. We must be careful not to apply the same solution to every problem. Wu Jin nodded. Han's wisdom had grown tremendously since their first meeting. What do you suggest? Start with 1 new facility. Learn from the experience. Make sure we can maintain the quality of care and training before expanding further. Success is not measured by size, but by the lives we genuinely change. Wise advice, as always. That evening, Wu Jin filed his response to the council, accepting the establishment of 1 additional facility and proposing a careful expansion timeline. As he finished the report, Lieutenant Kim entered his office. Sir, I just wanted to thank you for everything you've taught me over the past year. Thank me? For what? For showing me that the best victories aren't won through superior firepower, but through superior understanding. For proving that a good leader doesn't just defeat enemies, but transforms them into allies. Wu Jin looked out at the training grounds, where beings from across the galaxy were learning to work together, despite their differences. I can't take credit for that, Lieutenant. Han taught me as much as I taught it, maybe more. Still, you made the choice to try something different when everyone else wanted to follow the old ways. Sometimes, the most important choice is the one that everyone else thinks is impossible. The next morning brought news that filled Wu Jin with pride. 3 of their first graduates had established their own small integration programs on their homeworlds. The Zephyrian refugees had created a conflict resolution service. A group of former child soldiers had started a school for war orphans. Most remarkably, The Draconian refugees had begun working with their own government to reform their military training programs. As Wu Jin reviewed these reports, Han entered his office carrying something in its claws. It was a small sculpture made from metal salvaged from the asteroid station, where they had first begun training together. "A gift," Han said through the translator, "to remind you of where we started and how far we have traveled together." The sculpture depicted two figures, one human and one Keth, standing side by side and reaching toward the stars. At the base were engraved words in both human script and Keth symbols. "From understanding comes peace." "Han, this is beautiful. But you should keep it." "No. This belongs here, in the place where impossible things become possible. Future students should see it and know that change is always within reach." Wu Jin placed the sculpture on his desk where everyone could see it. As he did, an alert chimed indicating a new urgent message. Ambassador Park appeared on the screen again, but this time she looked troubled. "Director Lee, we have a situation. A ship full of beings from an unknown species has entered Council space. They're heavily armed and haven't responded to any communication attempts. Initial scans suggest they might be another apex predator species." Wu Jin looked at Han, who had been listening carefully to the translation. The creature's expression was thoughtful rather than concerned. "Where are they now, Ambassador?" "Approaching the Centauri system. Military forces are mobilizing for potential conflict. Han and I will intercept them," Wu Jin said without hesitation. "Director, these beings might be even more dangerous than Han was originally. Are you sure about this approach?" Wu Jin looked at his partner, then at the sculpture on his desk. "Ambassador, 6 months ago the Council asked me to hunt your apex hunter. Today that same being is one of the most respected leaders in the galaxy. If these new arrivals are dangerous, it's probably because they're afraid or hurt, not because they're evil. And if you're wrong, then we'll deal with that when it happens. But I believe in giving everyone the chance to be more than their worst moment." As they prepared to depart for the Centauri system, Han spoke quietly to Wu Jin. "Thank you for showing me that the strongest warriors are those who fight for understanding rather than dominance. Thank you for teaching me that the best hunting is done not to destroy, but to save." Their ship launched from Harmony Station, carrying not weapons of war but tools of communication and understanding. Behind them, the integration,